This is not a drill. This is not a drill. Do not rub your eyes. Do not pinch yourself. It has happened. Arsenal have won a game of football. Round of applause for the boys. My God, it has taken so long for this to happen. In fact, we've had to wait since the 6th of October since Arsenal have won a game of football, but it has happened. And we sit here confidently and with our heads held high after what has been a pleasant 45 minutes of football. The first 45 we will discuss and talk about, but the second 45 was very. Oh, actually, the second 52 minutes, it was a game with 12 added minutes of time in total, which is pretty insane. But my God, we have actually won a game of football. Thank you to everyone who is tuning into the chat box this evening. You will notice that there's no mic hanging over me. In fact, I've resorted to the old tag on mic, and that is because new things are changing. This could be one of the last times you see me in the podcast conservatory. It won't be, because I'm going to take advantage of the Reds BT Sport and come back here for some shows. But I will be in my house for extremely soon. In fact, I've spent the last 4 days unpacking flat pack furniture and finally look like I could be very soon in my very first house. And along with that, maybe a brand new professional microphone as suggested on the podcast. Some of you fantastic people have been putting in plenty of donations over the last couple of weeks or so. And I'm going to put them towards the channel because that is what it is about. And that is going to go towards a new professional studio quality microphone. Can't wait to get that installed and ready for you guys as soon as possible. But that's not what you're here to talk about. You are here to discuss Arsenal's famous victory against West Ham United at the London Olympic Stadium. Let's get some of your comments in the chat box before we talk about things. Yannick Max says, apart from a couple of misplaced passes, Torreira was immense today. M. Lord says Martinelli needs to start every match from here on out. Arsenal motto says, beautiful, feels so good seeing all the players so happy. Zamir says, it's so nice to see the players embracing Freddie like that. Also nice to finally break the duck. New Coman says, get in. Come on, guys. AO says that we won away from home. Absolutely brilliant stuff. Big Gunner D says, not impressed, but really happy for the win. Some people just can't be happy. I'm sorry, Big Gunner D, but I am on a different level of happiness considering I've waited for so long for this to happen at Arsenal. For us to actually pick up 3 points is rather... I can't put it into words. It's a Christmas present come early. These things don't come along too often for us, but we can actually sit and bathe in the absolute, wondrous sight that is Arsenal winning a game of football. I may be being a bit hyperbolic and going a little bit too far now, but you can understand my euphoria at this happening. We're going to go into some of the details soon. Arsenal Motor says Martinelli goal changed everything. Frank Gunner says big 3 points. Avon says we won a second half away from home. Just going to clarify that. Let's talk about things. So initial reaction was, of course, the lineup which Freddie selected. 4-2-3-1 was how we set up, with obviously a front three attacking side of Aubameyang up top, which we wanted. Laka getting dropped, which a lot of people wanted, even though he scored against Brighton. But it's, to be honest, the Frenchman has been quite poor recently. Pepe coming in, obviously came on against Brighton and really lit things up at the start of the second half. But obviously couldn't really impact the game as much as he wanted. Very, very different today. Martinelli on the left-hand side. Finally, the young Brazilian getting the reward that he deserves as arguably the most important player for Arsenal this season. Maybe not the most important, but certainly the most influential and the most deserving, maybe not even the most influential, but definitely the most deserving player of minutes on the pitch this season in Martinelli. Finally got those minutes, and boy, did he take it. Even in the first half, he was running about, harassing players, getting stuck in, and finally got that goal that he rightfully earned for himself in that second half. Fantastic finish after some really good work from Torreira and from Kolasinac. And then, from that point on, we just looked a different side. We oozed confidence like anything, oozing like toothpaste out of a packet. It was brilliant to see our players finally having some form of confidence about them. That toothpaste packet was squeezed, and in no matter of time at all, Pepe is on that right-hand side, cuts in, stupidly allowed to cut in by Masuaku, and he pings that ball into the top left-hand corner. Fantastic finish from the Ivorian. You have to say that finally, yes, Rodney, we are oozing sauce. Finally, we have this situation where hopefully Pepe can push on from this, can actually take confidence from this, from not just a goal, but also the assist for the second. Little chip into Aubameyang, who I've really been quite concerned about in terms of his mentality, where his head's at, what he thinks about Arsenal moving forwards. But he took that with aplomb. Martin can get close to, well, you get close to it. In fact, he probably should have done better. But overall, I'm very happy with that second half performance. And how can you not be? But there are some things we need to talk about before we go into the second half in a little bit more detail into some of the more positive things. Let's look at the other side first, get that look, a little bit of a niggly bit out of the way, and then we will move forwards to talking about the more positives. But negatives-wise, that first half, my God, it was terrible. I mean, easily, and I say easily, but it's quite hard for this achievement to have occurred, was the worst half of football we have played so far. The worst half of football I've seen from any team, from any game this season. That first 45 minutes was diabolical. And thank God, as Omar says, that we were superb in that second half, and we really were. But, I mean, we created nothing. There was no imagination. There was no dynamism. Happy birthday, Willie. I think that in terms of where we were at, that just completely encapsulated everything that you could see Arsenal moving with. Everything that you could look at Arsenal the last 10 games was utterly comprised in that first half. Lacking in confidence, lack of chance creation, no imagination whatsoever. Unlucky with the Bellerin coming off before the game started. Unlucky with Tierney coming off because of what looks like, really annoyingly, could be quite a long-term shoulder injury, possible dislocation. He's got a history of those dislocations in his career. And I can see in the chat, Max, is it your birthday? Is it your birthday, Max? Are you just trying to get that little bit of a shout out? Happy birthday if it is, mate. Michael Hernandez says, good for confidence. Abigail Wright says, do you think we should have gone for the fourth? I mean, I'm happy just to get 3, Abigail, if I'm honest. I'm just happy to get 3. Paul Alves says, totally agree. Our first shot on target was an hour into the game. West Ham were not much better, and I suppose that I was thinking, how do I start off today's show? Because I could have started it off in so many different ways. Part of me was thinking, should I start off by saying, how bad must West Ham be? Because that was sort of where my head was at. Is how bad must West Ham be if we are putting 3 goals past them? But I don't think that's the case. 2 teams that are definitely struggling. We discussed with the Athletics' Roshane Thomas in our preview show in the week that West Ham are not full of confidence right now themselves. They've got a lot of issues. Set pieces are a problem for them. And I don't think we necessarily looked dangerous from sort of dead ball situations. And actually, it was the free-flowing football in the second half that got the better of them. But, I mean, for instance, when you're talking about different types of players and playing in their right positions, that's where it went right for us today. And when it clicked and when we had that sort of resurgence about us, that's when things turned in the game. Kamal says, Pepe and Salt, absolutely fantastic from the Ivorian. Nollywood TV says, get rid of Ozil, Xhaka, El Neni, Socrates, Louise, Chambers, getting Grealish, Dunk, Upamecano, Zaha, Partey, and get an attacking coach. Well, you want it all, don't you, mate? Mikhail says, Martinelli is bargain for your money. He absolutely is. John Smith says, I've been saying that Martinelli is good enough and has to start. He's got the lot. Also, Pepe, all he needed was more time. Lots of people have been slagging him off. Now, what are they going to say? I think it's quite harsh to say that people have been criticising him that harshly. I really think it comes down to the fact that we paid a hell of a lot of money over 5 years, yes, but a hell of a lot of money we've committed to this guy, and he hasn't shown it. Now, there's been a lot of reasons around Pepe, in my opinion, as to why he's not necessarily shown what he's truly capable of. But I think a lot of what that comes down to is the fact that he's coming from a side in Lille that played some extremely good counter-attacking football, hit teams on the break. He was able to use his pace. The defending quality weren't as good in the French league. He's come into this team now, which did play very high possession football, made a lot of chances, and didn't really play on that style that suited Pepe. Now we're in a situation at Arsenal where teams are looking at us in a certain way which could ironically suit Pepe's style, we might be in a situation where, because teams look at the vulnerabilities of Arsenal, know that they can get at Arsenal, that they might play in a certain way that actually suits the style of Pepe. And that certainly happened today. He was great down the right flank, gave Cresswell, who, let's be honest, should not have been on the pitch, even though he gets the ball. He's not in control in that scenario with that first challenge. The second challenge was malicious and pointless, and you can see why that Pellegrini took him off, because if he hadn't taken him off, he was definitely getting a red card, because Pepe was skimming him like milk, skinning him all day long. Fantastic stuff from him. He got his goal, he got his assist, and you have to say that he is going to start in the next coming fixtures moving forwards. And we needed that so badly ahead of what is going to be an imperative game against a Manchester City side that are not in the best state of things, you have to say right now. Man City, I mean, if you'd have looked at this game 2 days ago, you're thinking, my God, we're getting obliterated. And to be honest, if you've got your head on your shoulders still right, you're still saying that Man City should come out on top in this game. 99% of me thinks that they will. But that 99% was 100% a day ago. Not even a day ago, 6 hours ago, it was 100% sure that City will win that game. And now, because there's that added extra little bit of confidence in Arsenal's game, maybe we can grab something. Maybe. I mean, I'm replaying it back in my mind and thinking, maybe, Tom, you're going a little bit insane. We might get something from the City game, but that's what we do. That's what we do as fans. We latch onto things and we overreact and we get hyperbolic. And that's what being a fan is about. And I love that about us as Arsenal fans sometimes. Yes, it can be directed in the complete wrong way, as we discussed on the podcast yesterday. But just the raw passion that we have knows that if this front three, Pepe, Aubameyang and Martinelli, can get clicked and can work and can play with the fire that they demonstrated in the second half today, then we've got a hell of a front three. And as long as we keep the ball away from our defence and from our midfield, and we just keep it between those front three, I think that we'll be fine. George Masharia says the new front three is fire. Christopher says best starting lineup all season. I think this is the blueprint to go forward, although Ozil might have to make way at times for someone else to press hard. Tao says bizarre that Emery beat West Ham in his third game by the same scoreline. I'd never even considered that, Tao. That's an interesting stat. Not sure how much relevance it has, but it's an interesting one. Goose says, we ain't going down. It's Christmas. It's a Christmas miracle. I have to say that a highlight of the game was the fans chanting we're staying up. That was brilliant. Ravi says, Ozil being given freedom to roam was key to our fluidity. And what do you think of Laka now? In terms of Laka, you can't base any judgment on Laka today. He didn't play. It'd be unfair of me to turn around and say that he's a bad player. He didn't play. Like he wasn't given a chance. So I'm not going to pass judgment on Lacazette. I've said at the start he's been poor the last few games, but in terms of how Ozil's getting that more freedom to play, that is great. Let's get some more of your comments. AJ says, it's AJ. It says AJ on my screen, and that's awful. Sorry, AJ. What's crazy is, Tom, we're only 7 points behind top four. Yeah, I mean, now we're 7 points. We're sort of in that middle ground. We're in the middle ground where relegation is still possible. And that possibility that if relegation is possible, then the top four is possible. It's an odd place to be as an Arsenal fan. I am just so thankful that we didn't drop points today. Because if we dropped points today and if we lost today, oh my God, it would have been horrific. Big news recently. I'm not going to stay on for too long. Because I'm absolutely shattered, as I say, from unpacking about 1 billion pieces of flat pack furniture over the last 3 days or so. But the biggest news that I've seen is Guillaume Balaguer has sort of come out and said that Arsenal should be making a coaching decision within the next week. Be that before the Man City game, I'm not sure. I think that would be a horrific game to sort of bring your new coach into. Hey, you want to come to Arsenal? Come on. Yeah, all right, mate. Who's my first game? Man City. Oh, great. Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, it's not the best. It's not the best sort of opposition to come up against in your first fixture as coach. So I'm not sure whether or not that decision will be put in place this week. Maybe it's a case where it'll be made and then they sit in the stands for that game because they're not integrated yet. Maybe that's right. I'm really going to try and put out a tactical breakdown on some of the managers. I mean, a lot of you have been tweeting me saying we need to get Marcelino covered. I'm going to try and do that at some point, but I don't have Wi-Fi at the new place until Friday. Imagine that, people. Imagine not having any internet whatsoever in terms of Wi-Fi until Friday. That's horrific. I was listening to, what was it? I think it was Jason Manford's radio show the other day whilst unpacking a lot of flat pack furniture. And they were talking through phobias, and someone brought up a phobia of not having any internet. And that's a genuine phobia in the 21st century. And I feel like that's creeping up the back of me now. But we're going to try and get those shows out to you. Let's go through some more of your comments. This evening, Kyle Gordon says, I hope this team remains the same for the next match. We just need some consistency. Mistakes in the back. Mistakes at the back. This is a good team and formation to build on. P.S. Why is Benitez in London? Because he was doing some Sky Sports punditry. I mean, come on. He's not going anywhere. In fact, I heard that he's got a £23 million release clause from his Chinese club. So, I mean, can you see that happening? No, you can't. Jabalani says, why are we playing out from the back all the time? Why can't we assess the situation and kick it forwards? Chambers kept passing the ball to Socrates, who is visibly uncomfortable. I don't think that's anything to do with passing. I think that Socrates in general is visibly uncomfortable as a person, not necessarily to do with the fact that he doesn't like passing the ball out. But I take your point. I know what you're saying. But ultimately, if you do kick the ball up the field, you are going to lose possession a fair chunk of the time. And playing out from the back does mean that you can sort of build up your confidence. But, I mean, Jabalani, you raise a good point, because we just simply don't have the personnel to do that. I mean, arguably our best ball-playing centre-back is Mustafi. And that's a horrific thought, because defensively the guy is so flawed, it's unbelievable. But he's arguably our best passer in a centre-back position. Chambers, speaking of Chambers, I thought Chambers did okay today. I think he did all right. I don't think you can have any criticism towards him. Ainsley Maitland-Niles, I mean, he's not played too much football. I don't have a huge amount of criticism for the guy. What do you think of Ainsley Maitland-Niles in the comments? There's not much point talking about Bellerin because he might not be in the team for a couple of weeks now. But how confident are you guys moving forwards regarding AMN, regarding Mainsley? How do you sort of see him? How do you feel he did today? Does he fill you with any amount of confidence? Please let me know in the chat box. Omar says that Chambers did all right. Abraham says, fair shout to Chambers. Really grew into the game, as did most of the team. Sriji says, Amen keeps passing backwards. That's a confidence thing. 100% that's a confidence thing. And you saw that with also Martinelli as well. The fact that he's still young, he's clearly got a lot of confidence, but the fact that he's still quite immature, he doesn't want to mess up too much. If you watch him, when he gets the ball sometimes, he does very first time touch it back again, and that is basically a sense of confidence. I remember doing it. I remember doing it basically back in the day when it was for the playing for the school team. I got called up for the school team once, a total of one time, and basically I spent 90 minutes on the wing getting passed to and passing the ball back to my midfielder, because I was petrified of making a mistake and never getting called up again. I never did get called up again, obviously, because you've got a winger that all he does is pass backwards. Why would you pick him again? But yeah, no, I think that in terms of that, Martinelli, it's definitely a confidence thing, 100%. Russell is saying night to Omar. Night, Omar. See you later, son. Dal says, oh my God, out from jail. Jail? What is jail? Maybe it means jail. Now we can beat City. Oh, so people get so excited when they're typing. Honestly, I make so many mistakes by typing. I mean, that ticker tape that's going on the bottom that you can see. Oh, I can follow it with my hand. I get excited about the stupidest things. I've probably made some mistakes within that. Someone's going to go, you spelled information wrong. Well, I'm sorry that I did. Kamal says, Tom, are you going to describe Xhaka as a footballer? He really struggled today. He really, really struggled today. I saw someone mention that he's got a Bo Pyler type of player, and I see the descriptive terminology in that. I see what you mean. He has moments where he does quite well, plays some decent passes, but there was that ball that he played across the midfield. Why would you do that? He makes such silly errors sometimes, and it's annoying because what he does do, and when he does the stuff that he does well, it doesn't really get noticed as much because the stupidity is so blatant and obvious for everyone to see. Matt Hale says, Martinelli and Pepe both top draw. Gunnar Dark says, I think 3-1 really flattered our performance. First half was extremely awful. In terms of a first half performance, of course, that final result does. But when you look at the second half in isolation, we were so much better. Am says, so slow and lazy. In terms of the first half, yes, agree, but I think you're more talking about Xhaka. Who is worse, says Willie, Xhaka or Ozil? I mean, I don't like these questions. I mean, they're our own players. Why are we judging them on who's worse? Ozil, in that free role, did okay today. In fact, he pulled the strings in quite a lot of areas. First half was not his half whatsoever. I mean, when you're playing off such poor confidence, Ozil's not the type of a guy to grab the game by the scruff of the neck and take it forwards. Ozil is the type of guy to thrive in a team full of confidence and sort of feed those players that have got the egos like Pepe, like Alba, when they are on sort of their high horses and want to really attack the goal. And I think that definitely aided us in the second half. Fade says, who was your man of the match? Mine would be Pepe. Martinelli for me is the man of the match, basically because he turned it around for us. Maybe Pepe had the best in terms of output, but the importance of Martinelli in this game cannot be understated. The young Brazilian, who's 18 years old still, as far as I'm aware, has come out of the fourth tier of Brazilian football, has taken this team, taken into the Premier League and taken into English football like a duck to water. He's been absolutely brilliant this season. 8th goal so far. I mean, this kid is going to go places. And when I say go places, I'm petrified of someone coming in and thinking this guy is the next big thing. And to be fair, he could be off somewhere in the near horrible future to a Real Madrid or a Barcelona, because Barcelona are sniffing. Trust me, Barcelona are already sniffing around this kid, and we have got to show him that we have got the ambition to keep him at this club. And you just know that a lot of Brazilian players see a lot of teams around Europe as a stepping stone. And Arsenal cannot be seen at the moment as a top tier club. We're just not up there. That is not Arsenal right now. We're not up there. You've got to go to a different level to get to the likes of Barcelona. And players see Arsenal now as a stepping stone. And I really, really struggle to put my head around the idea that Martinelli would want to stay forever, or Saliba, when he comes in, would want to stay forever. And we've got to give them the incentive to want to do that with signings, with confidence, with a top-class manager. And fingers crossed we will provide that. Craig says, Tom, I told you earlier, he is the best thing to come out of Brazil since Ronaldinho. Wow, that is high praise. I mean, a lot of players would, like Neymar, for instance, and maybe Gabriel Jesus would have a little bit to say about that. But in terms of potential, this kid has got a lot to give you. Willie says, Tom, should we sell Martinelli to City for 200 million? No, we shouldn't. I mean, 200, if they offer 200 million, you're not going to say no, are you? But yeah, Gary Hardy, Xhaka is so sloppy and lackluster. The amount of challenges that he pulled out of, which is odd for Xhaka, because usually he loves a side tackle. I don't think he knows any way other to tackle than by sliding. Just Being says, we are still a team who plays in two halves. We have been for ages. I don't see that being any different from the match against Man City. I agree with your 99% chance, Tom. Yeah, 100%. That is where we're at. 6 hours ago, no chance against City. Now, 1%. Still 1%. 1% chance of getting something from that game. Karen says, we've always been a stepping stone, though, Tom. We have. Well, I don't think we've always been that. But in terms of the context of the last 2 decades, I mean, maybe the whole of the 2 decades is harsh, especially considering the start of the noughties. But the last 15 years, yes, we have. Kay says, Xhaka was chickening out of headers. He's so bad. A lot of hate for Xhaka in the chat today. Zamir says, we need Decore and Koulibaly in January. They will give us what we need to make a massive run in the second half of the season with the way. These are 2 players that if you are, and you raise a good point, Zamir, because if you are a club that wants to be savvy and street smart and a little bit clever, then you identify the teams that are politically a little bit off, like Napoli right now. Really, really interesting stuff going on at Napoli on a political level, the players and the coaches and the people higher up and the issues that's creating. And Koulibaly looks like he wants to leave. I'd be going in and poaching him. I would have poached Lozano way before he left PSV to go there as well, but that's now done. And then you're looking at Watford, who are really struggling. I'm interested to see how it works under Nigel Pearson. I don't think it's going to improve too much. And in fact, they're my biggest favourite to go down this season. But Decore, surely he'd want out. Surely he'd want to go to a better club. And Arsenal somehow are a better club than Watford, believe it or not, still. So, yes, they are 2 players that I think we could identify as ones that would definitely improve us moving forward. Jeffrey says, Ljungberg's willingness to make changes is a breath of fresh air. Who would have had the balls to bench Lacazette and to play Chambers when Luiz and Mustafi are healthy? Certainly not Wenger or Emery? Dave Atkinson says, why does everyone have a go at Xhaka for giving the ball away, but don't do the same when it's Torreira doing the same thing? I mean, it's a fair point. You've got to be equal to everyone. TV says, come on, guys, Xhaka wasn't that bad. I hate this scapegoating. We've won a game. And I think that's the big thing that we need to focus on today, that Arsenal have won a game of football, and that is going to be key to us. We need to now use this as a stepping stone. It's annoying that this didn't happen earlier on, because it's not enough momentum, I think, to take us into the game against City with too much hope. I think that there is a slight chance, but we're going to get dominated. But the thing about being dominated at Arsenal right now is that we've got Martinelli and we've got Pepe that will thrive on the counter-attack. And fingers crossed that City are as toothless and are as wasting in their possession and their chances that they have been in previous weeks, and maybe we can sink in some more misery to those guys and give Leicester the title in some way. Oh God, imagine. I mean, Brendan Rodgers, why would he have ever wanted to come to Arsenal? Why would he have ever wanted to do that to himself? We're going to wrap things up there. I really appreciate you turning up this evening to come and discuss what has been a miraculous evening for the Arsenal. You can see going along the bottom of your screen right now. Come follow us on Twitter at the Gooner Talk TV. Turn those notifications on so you can tune in and be some of these guys in our live chat. Thank you ever so much for tuning in, people. Plenty of you in there. John Smith, Aaron, Jonathan B, Raf, our good pal Raf. Loads of you in there. Kaig, thank you ever so much for tuning in, people. Really appreciate you coming out and enjoying a live chat for once of one of these days. Thank you, Gary. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, guys. Subscribe, turn those notifications on, and drop the show a like if you have enjoyed me taking out the time of my evening and yours to have this fantastic discussion. And yeah, please, if you're watching on playback, please leave your comments in the section below, and you can get into contact with the show. We've had a really good set of debutants on with the podcast that was out yesterday. If you want to get in touch with the show, it's very simple. Just read that's going on the bottom of the screen right now and get in touch with us. I'll see you again very soon. I hope, fingers crossed. Let's get the moving in done. Let's get a really good high quality microphone so you can hear my dulcet tones that a little bit more clearer. And I'll see you again very soon. As always, up the Arsenal.